G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of my EV realist videos in which I seek to put a rather more realistic perspective on the transition to EVs than the wildly idealistic view that our governments are currently spruiking across the world. So if you like this kind of content, it would be great to have you as a subscriber. So those of you who follow the EV realist community will no doubt be aware of the channel Geoff Buys Cars. This is a guy in the UK, Geoff, who has been putting out quite a few EV related videos recently. I follow him. You should too. I'll put a link in the description. And the latest series of videos he's done has been a cross-country race between a 14-year-old BMW 3 Series bought on Facebook Marketplace for peanuts against a £120,000 Porsche Taycan, and the Taycan's being driven by another YouTuber, the MacMaster. I'll also link his channel down below as well. So the race that they decided to do was a traditional UK race, and it is from John O'Groats, which is the most northern point of Scotland, down to Land's End, which is the most southerly tip of England. Normally it's Land's End to John O'Groats, but they did John O'Groats to Land's End, with one stop in the middle at a town called Kendal, kind of halfway. And the aim of this particular race was to see how the Taycan compared to this 14-year-old diesel BMW bought off Facebook. So the trouble really started for Lee before he even arrived at John O'Groats. Getting a charge on the way up. There were some problems with charging even before the race had started.
So I went up to Gretna, went to charge there, plugged it in, 4 charging points there. There's a couple of Taycans on it, I believe, and a BMW or whatever. And the guy come, knocks on my window, he says, "Oh, do you realise your car's not charging?" And up popped on my dashboard, limited charging due to, I can't remember, it went off, due to power on the grid. So I went out and a couple of us had to unplug because there's not enough power on the grid to provide for them 4 charging points. So
that's really interesting. I actually put out a video recently, which I'll link up here, which deals with this exact problem. And the evangelists all chimed in and said, "Oh no, they're all going to have battery packs, and they're all going to be able to cope with multiple charging." But the reality is that charging stations in remote areas, they're not going to have massive battery backups, and they're just going to rely on whatever the grid can supply at that particular place. And this is an exact example of where this doesn't work. Let's carry on.
Are you ready to start? How's your battery?
Well, I can have a look because I can check my battery on my phone, you see. So we have at the moment, let it reach the server, 98% and 207 miles of, wow, that's low, 207 miles of range.
207 miles, so.
Yeah.
98% charge in a Taycan and you have 207 miles of range. That's insane. Geoff's BMW with a full tank probably has a range of about 500 or even more potentially, who knows. Hilarious. All right, so let's keep watching. This is the next day. They've driven about 80 miles, literally 80 miles, and Lee is already charging.
I thought we were stopping for a wee, not a cheeky charge. I'm not putting diesel in mine.
What I thought is, I might buy you a coffee or some fish and chips or something. I'm playing the game here, I'm playing it clever.
Now, I've left Lee behind. He's charging and having some chips and a coffee. We've done about 80 miles, and that's it. And he's charging already. Little and often. I know he said he was going to try and charge when he can. I'm not hanging around. Distance to go is 336.
I mean, already, before they've even got out of Scotland, before they've even got the first 100 miles, it's clear who's going to win this, and by a massive, massive margin, and it just gets worse from here. So this next clip is a little bit later on the way, and another classic EV charging problem.
4 cars waiting.
Yeah.
Every Ionity charger taken up.
Yeah.
An hour and a half wait to even get the charger.
Jesus Christ. With the traffic, I suppose we should have guessed. I didn't even think.
So, absolute madness. My only other thing now is Porsche Perth are about a mile and a half away. Whether anybody's thought of that, I might be in with a better chance. I've charged up there before, so I'm going to try it.
Oh my God. So, traffic. There's a traffic problem, and that means that everyone is suffering major range anxiety, and they're all heading to the chargers, and they're all occupied. And there's an hour and a half wait before you even get to the charger. And then there's another 45 minutes wait while you charge. Who in their right mind would do this? So now he's got to take a detour to go to a Porsche dealer which has specific Porsche chargers, and they're more expensive, so they probably won't be occupied, but you've got to make a detour to a Porsche dealer. And then a little bit later there's a further update from Lee on the phone to Geoff.
Nobody was on the Porsche chargers. I'm not surprised.
What was that? No one was on them?
No, no one was on them. Cost me nearly 50 quid, 47 quid.
Did it?
Yeah, really expensive, the Porsche chargers, but you know what? There's no way I was waiting another hour and a half on top of that too, and I'm back on the road again, 40 odd minutes.
£47 for 210 miles. That doesn't even sound very cheap. I thought electric cars were supposed to be cheap to run. That's not cheap.
So I'm back on the road. He says I'm going to get there at 9:30. It's 184 miles.
Yeah.
And I've got 207 miles of range at the moment. So if you're all right in the morning, I'll just get there with a low charge and we'll just find nearby.
So he's going to be cutting it fine because his charge is indicating 207 mile range and he's got 184 miles to go. And he'll arrive at the destination completely empty. So the first thing they're going to have to do tomorrow morning is find another bloody charging port. This is hilarious and tragic at the same time. So let's catch up again with Geoff as he's closing in on the first day's destination.
I only have 100 miles left to go, so I am 80 miles ahead of Lee. But at least it sounds like he's going to make it. That's good. His ETA is now 9:30, which is an hour and a half after I'm due to get there.
So Lee finally arrives an hour and a half late, and I think it would have been more than that if he'd taken the same route as Geoff's, but he managed to actually gain some time, so he would have been even more late than this, even if he'd gone the same way as Geoff. It's hilarious.
And it's been an eventful journey.
Yeah.
I gained an hour.
Yeah, and then lost an hour.
And then lost an hour.
Yeah.
Because the charging points were all in use, by the way, and I planned my journey. That was at Ionity. There was 3 cars. I don't know whether you've told them this. 3 cars waiting. Literally, I think it was like an hour to 45 minutes to an hour to wait before you get on them.
Mental.
So then I had to go to Porsche, charge there. That cost me nearly 50 quid to charge up. There was nobody there, by the way.
Yeah, so this is, as I say, that like the Porsche was an hour and 20 minutes late, but if he'd taken the same route, it would have been 3 hours late. So the next day turns up, and of course, Lee's Porsche is empty, and so the first thing they need to do is find a charger.
Although it would be fun now to drive directly to Land's End and leave Lee to it, I'm not going to do that. However, the fact that there's hold-ups like this, it just hands the game to the diesel car, doesn't it? Because if he's at a charger, his car's not charging. We're now going to have to drive to Porsche to go to a charger, but we can make some video there as well. So we're not on the road yet, so let's find out. How are we getting on? I'm just rolling my camera.
It's 47%, we're only getting 38 kilowatts. So we could be here another 2 hours waiting for this.
Right.
And bearing in mind there's only a 2-hour waiting. If we've got longer because we stayed at the prison camp, but
yeah,
this is taking ages. So we're just going to have to go to Porsche and charge it.
So Lee now has to go to Porsche again to charge. I think Geoff was generous to go along with him so that he didn't kind of get too far behind. But normally you wouldn't do that. You'd have to, this is just so frustrating. I mean, I get frustrated when you have to queue to put petrol in your car. I mean, and that might be like 5 minutes, but can you imagine queuing for an hour and a half to then charge for another 45 minutes? It would drive people mad. It would drive me mad. Eventually, Lee abandoned the idea of going to Land's End and just meets Geoff back at the hotel, which is further inland, and has to admit defeat.
How many times today have you thought about selling this car?
if I could sell it without having to give them money, it would go.
Yeah.
Because after today, I've had enough.
Was this your worst trip ever?
This is the worst I've had, other than losing friends and family.
Yeah.
This is one of the worst days of my life. It's been an absolute nightmare. I am a broken man. And I honestly, I mean, if anyone's thinking of buying an electric car, my advice to you would be, don't. The lowest point was, I mean, when I got to the Ionity chargers.
That was at Columpton.
That did it for me, because it was just one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
And then it led me to the Charge Place Scotland, where it said wasn't there. Then I got to the Instavolt chargers. There's a bank of them, only me on it, obviously at that price.
That's the photo you sent me, yeah?
Yeah.
And that was the Instavolt, that was your last one, that was 60 quid.
That was the last one. 70 quid?
70 quid.
70 quid, yeah.
Last question, and I'll let you eat your food. Did you have a little cry at any point today?
Yes, actually on camera, I did.
An actual man cry?
Yeah, my nose, I'd got a headache, my nose was bleeding.
As I say, it's both hilarious and tragic at the same time. The only possible case that can be made for EVs, ignoring all the issues with battery safety and fires, is the owner that charges overnight and uses it to run around the city during the day, brings it home, and then charges again overnight and just repeat over and over again. That is the only way that an EV can make any sense. In any other situation, they are completely and utterly ludicrous, and the idea of transitioning all vehicles to EVs is utterly preposterous. And I don't believe it will ever happen, because it will keep getting pushed back and pushed back as governments realise the madness that they've set in motion. Anyway, this is a fantastic experiment by Geoff and Lee. I hope you'll go and look at their videos in the description, because it goes into much more detail. But I wanted to just isolate a few little points and just discuss those in relation to some of the things that I've already said. The victory to the 14-year-old BMW diesel is clear. It's not even close. I think it was even cheaper in the BMW than it was in the Taycan. The cost of electricity over the whole trip was actually, I think, nearly double the cost of fuel for the diesel. So even the economy argument just falls flat. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've got any tips, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.